Michael and welcome to Angling Info. Hi and welcome to Angling Info. Today we've got another lucky day. The guys at Oaks Lakes, Tom in particular, have allowed us again permission, and this time we're fishing Beech today, which again is just a match only lake. And I've got a couple of tactics, but the first tactic that I'm gonna try today is fishing Pellet. So I've got a simple setup today. It's not a very long cast into the middle, so I've got a little 9-foot rod, and then I've got basically an inline feeder, and it's a Preston Innovations feeder. It's one that doesn't get used very much. I mean, you can use, there's lots of different types of pellet feeder, but I like this. It's like a little mini cage feeder with a grid on the end, and it's got a little bit of elastic running through it with an eye either side. So I've got a loop in my main line, which is 5 pound, and I've just looped that and then just put it through the ring there, so a loop to loop connection. And I've just got behind that a number 1 shot, just basically to sink that back line. And then I've got a short hook length of about 3 inches, and that's 0.15 power line, and I've got that to a 16s hook and a pellet band. It's a PR 36 hook, and I've got that through to a pellet band. The reason I'm fishing this small setup is we're in November now, but it's, you know, it's still quite warm, to be honest. It's, you know, it's still 10 degrees, so I've seen a few fish topping, but I'm using a smaller feeder today, a smaller version, because obviously I don't want to put too much feed in, but this small feeder should work perfectly. You could use a pellet cone, but I tend to use that when it gets a bit longer on in the months, when it gets to start to be a bit colder, and I use that with a bomb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle this up, and then we can have a look how we're fishing it. So like I say, I'm not fishing too far out. I'm fishing with it. I'm only going to put a 4mm pellet on today because, like I said, of the condition that it is cooler than normal. I would put a 6mm on if it's colder, but I've just got a 4mm on the band. So what I'm using today to fill it with is 2mm pellets. Obviously you've got to use hookery feed pellets here. So all I've done is simple micros. I've soaked them for about 15 to 20 minutes, just covered with water. So they are really spongy and really soft, and they're just going to stick in your feeder. So the way that I load the pellet feeder up is I put a little bit in first and push it against that cage, and then the next bit I trap it with the pellet, and then I just push it in. So your feed is inside, but once it hits the water, what's going to happen is it's going to hit that grid, and it's going to explode out the back of the feeder, and then everything's going to be in the right position. So what we're going to do is we're fishing on line clip. So if you want to know how to clip up, just check out my method feeder fishing video, and that'll explain how to clip up. So you've got a far bank marker, and you've cast it out, we've hit the clip. Just going to sink the tip of the rod, so you've got all that line sunk nicely. I'm just going to lay that down on the rest, and like I say, I've not had any casts yet whatsoever, so I haven't pre-fed the swim or anything, so you know, I don't know how long it'll take to get a bite or not. But when you're fishing winter fishing, you need to think about the day and think about what the weather's like. If it's really cold, you know, then you probably are better with a pellet cone, and that you don't need to feed as often, and you don't need to cast as often, and you sort of waiting half an hour between casts usually. But like I say, it's still 10 degrees. I've seen a few fish topping. We're using a smaller feeder, so we'll work on probably about 3 to 5 minutes for the casts. You know, but like I say, when you first put it out, I'm probably going to only wait 2 minutes or so, just to try and establish a little bit of bait out there. Not too much, but just to sort of get them interested that there's a bit of bait knocking about. So we've had that out for a couple of minutes now, so we're just going to bring that back in, and we'll put his next lot of feed out there. So if you've got a place on your box where it's comfortable to do it like I have it on this corner, so I can just lean back and it's out of the way, I like to just reach over my shoulder. So don't be afraid of giving it a good squeeze in there, because as soon as it hits the water, that it will just rush out with the back of the feeder. Obviously, it's a great method in your summertime is pellet feeder. You know, it can catch you some big weights of fish, but it's also done in the right way, can be a really good method to fish in when it's cold. But like I say, it's not too cold today, so you know, we should be all right fishing with you know, just a smaller feeder and just cutting his amount of feed and the amount of casts that we're doing. But we have, like I said before, I have another method set up, and that's my bomb rod. And bomb rods are good because you can just search different areas. So I've brought a bit of bread with me to squeeze on to try. I've also got some maggots, so that also gives you another option to fish with. So you know, it's just about, you know, thinking about where fish are and if you see any movement, and you know, just putting the bait there. And obviously you've just got that bomb with a straight line, and that one hook bait out there. So that's the sort of the only option that, you know, they have to eat. So again, we've had it out there for a little amount of time. Like I say, on the first few casts, we just want to be establishing a bit of bait out there. So don't be afraid. You know, it's only a small feeder, is this, to get a little bit of bait out there. So I get it casted out again. Always make sure you have a decent set clutch, not too light, but you don't want, you want, you know, to be able to, the fish to take line if needed. But it's important to get those few first casts out and get that just a little bit of bait down, and to ensure that, you know, you've got something if you do get a fish on your swim, you know, that there's going to be some there to take the bait. Now I am getting a few little tiny indications on the tip. Nothing major, but just a few little indications that there's a few fish maybe about. But you know, when you're fishing for F1s and you're fishing for carp, which is what these venues usually are prolifically stocked with, usually there's not much mistake in the bite. It's usually straight off your rest or slack. But if you find out you fish waters, because obviously skimmers and bream absolutely love pellets, even roach, you may get, you know, slower pulls or, you know, drop backs where, you know, you don't really want to be striking anything that's, you know, little taps. Say I got a liner there that were a fast forward pull and then it dropped back to the same tension that I had. So that, to me, that's just a liner. So I went down just in case it continued to go down, but I didn't pick the rod up because, like I say, it was just a liner. So that is a good indication that there's some fish around there. But because the rod's not continually going round, or there's not continuous pull on the rod, there's no need to pick it up. If you know, you find yourself with smaller fish, sometimes you get little taps, but you have to wait for a constant pull. It might obviously not pull it off the rest, but as long as it's on a constant pull, that's when you want to be striking. And to be honest, you don't really need to strike too strong either. You just sort of want to be lifting up and reeling into the fish. Striking it too hard is, you know, you're just going to end up pulling the hook out the fish, or worse, snapping yourself off if it's something decent. But that were a positive sign that there's a liner there. So we've only had a couple of casts, so you know. Right, so we've hooked into the first fish of the day on the pellet feeder. So always important, keep your rods down and until we get it under your feet. But if you're fishing matches and things like that, just be aware, like I've got today, I've got 2 keep nets in, so just be aware that that you've obviously got that there. They sink quite flat, so you know, you should be all right. Just try and guide him over this side. That's it. So get him in front of it, straight in the net. As soon as you've got him in the net, pull a bit of line out for yourself. Just give yourself a little bit of, you know, a bit of space. So there we are. Just this is the pretty much the average size of you know, stocky that we've got in there. So obviously, as you can see, even though it's winter, it's pretty lively. So get him back in the net. Get him in the net there. And get back out there. So obviously repeat your process. It's pellet's still on there, so get that back out there. It's a good thing about fishing hard pellets, you know, take a bit of hammer and you can usually catch a couple of fish on them before you get any problems with that. So just get that back out into the same spot. Like I say, give yourself about 1.5 foot of line and cast out on it. That line clip got a nice crosswind now, so it's important that you take that into consideration when you're casting. Obviously, if you've got a crosswind like that one, you've got to aim slightly, you know, left, depending on how strong your wind is, or slightly right if it's coming from right to left. And you just need to, it's something that you've just got to gauge when you're fishing. Sometimes it's a good idea to get a piece of grass or something like that and lift and throw it just to sort of see which way the wind's going. But getting little taps again straight away on the pellet feeder, so it's a good sign. Hopefully that fish are starting to settle on that little bit of bait that's down there, so you know, that's a positive sign. But you know, we'll try and catch another one for you. I'm sure there's going to be a few more through the day, so you know, what we'll do is hopefully catch another one for camera, and then we'll have a bit of a fish, and we'll hopefully get the net out for you at the end, and hopefully we'll have a few. But you know, so we've had a couple of fish now, and just had a cast back in. So hopefully, you know, we get starting to get a few fish there. Might try the bombing a bit with maggot on, because obviously maggot works really well at this time of year. In ideal factors, if I were fishing this lake in a match, I would probably be fishing a maggot feeder this time of year. There's a bite and a fish. So I would be fishing maggot this time of year more than likely, or a maggot feeder. But I just wanted to show you that, you know, it is possible to catch on pellets, and it is a good method, pellet feeder. But you know, summer obviously it's in its element in summer. You know, you can't keep it on rest on places like this. It's absolutely prolific, but it obviously does work in these cold conditions also. And hopefully we'll have a keep net of fish to prove that fact. Well, that one's just come off at the neck, just a hook pull, so you know that unfortunately happens. You know, it's just one of those things. So all we do is just get baited up and get back out there again. So again, get your pellet. Just shows that, you know, there's no point in messing about. You know, if you miss a fish, then you miss. You know, if you lose a fish, you lose a fish. Not every fish hooks itself perfectly, and you know, did everything right there. We kept the rod low, and you know, it come up at the right time. We've got it on a soft rod. It's nearly got it in the net there, but you know, it's just one of those things. So we don't worry about that. We just get back out there on that same spot and just keep fishing away. It's important not to dwell too much. I mean, it really does suck if it's especially if it's a big fish and you lose it. It really does suck. I know that, but you know, that's fishing. So best thing to do is just get back out there, and hopefully there's a few more fish in the same place waiting for the same bait. So that's all you can do really, is just get back out there and, you know, hope that there's some more fish there. But you know, there's taps all the time on the tip, so there must be a few fish out there. And we're only using small hooks this time of year. This one's a 16 hook, but it's a PIR 36, so it's quite a small hook. Very strong hooks they are. On my bomb rod, I've got a pellet hook, a Mava pellet hook, very strong. Again a 16, but it's a thin wire hook, really sharp. MT7s, or I think they are pellet hooks. They're ready tied actually, which is just nice to have in your box. You don't have to tie every hook that you own. You know, I tie a lot of links for my method feeders and things like that. It's nice to just have a pack of reliable hooks, which those Mava MTs, you know, are really decent hooks. So it's nice to have those in your box. And that's set up on the Guru X Safe bomb system, which I'll show you. It's an inline bomb that's got an insert with elastic onto it, and it's a really decent system, is that. So it's all on quick release. So you know, it's on a little hook, and you can just click it off and click a new one on, ready to go. The X Safe system works with feeders as well. With the Guru range that they've got, it all interlocks. It's all together in that range. But like, I've been getting the bites quite frequently, so I don't want to leave it too long in there without, you know, without recasting, to be honest, because I've seen quite a lot of fish moving in amongst the middle, and obviously I've been getting liners and fish. So you know, there's another liner there. Seen quite a few fish topping, and I mean, if you're fishing a pleasure session, then obviously, and there's nobody to the side of you, then you can, you know, you can cast, you you know, towards that kind of area. But obviously in a match you can't do that. But it's a good, you know, to build your watercraft skills, you know, reading the water and reading the situations. You know, I'm getting steady bites, you know, out there. It's only early doors, you know, we're only talking 9:30 in the morning, so it is still cool. But it's good to use your watercraft. Like, there's no one fishing else allowed to fish on this pond with us today, so you know, I'm looking over there and seeing fish topping or fish moving about, and you know, I've got that bomb rod set up, so in a you know, in a little while, if I'm not doing much more on the feeder, or I'm in between bites and I fancy just a little go with the bomb rod anyway, as it's a pleasure session, you know, you can cast down there and just see if you can pick an odd fish or two up. So you know, it's good to utilise your thoughts if there's no one fishing in your way, as long as you're not crossing anybody's lines or there's no one to the side of you, then you know, it's a good idea to always have a backup option or another option that you can do. So just while we've got that rod in the water, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a talk through this rod that I've got set up here. It's an 11-foot rod that we've got here. We've got 6-pound line on it, Gen feeder line, and I've got the X-Safe system set up. So I've got it's a 31 gram lead. To be honest, I like to hold bottom, you know, with these, and you know, yeah, 15. You can use a 15 grammer for a lot of the fishing that you know that you do around these areas, and it'll probably be fine. But I do like the 30 gram to cast. So I've got it works on. We're just gonna a little fish on there, so we'll just get this one sorted out. As typical fishing filming style, when whilst we're trying to explain one method to you, the other one's going. But that's one of the things you've got to make sure that you've always got your eye on that other rod. That's why when I was showing you, I'm looking at that same rod and I've got space. All I've got to do is just drop it to the side of me, and now I've got space to do that. So got the fish underneath us now, so just try and get a bit of line on him. So as typical F1 style, I try to get under your keep nets. So just get him up in front, and there he's in the net. So as always, play yourself a little bit of line out. Put your rod down. Hooked absolutely perfectly in the lip. He is, so just get rid of that. That's the average stamp here, you know. You're looking at about 3 pound, 2 to 3 pound an average stamp in these kind of commercial match ponds. So what we're going to do is, even though that line's still doing all right, obviously if you're catching on it and you know you're happy catching on it and you don't want to move, then and if you're getting a bite, a chuck, then obviously I wouldn't suggest moving. But you're on a pleasure session and you want to try a couple of things out. We've seen those fish moving, so what we're going to do is just wind that rod up and just put that down for a minute or two, and we're just going to have a go with that bomb rod. So I'll finish talking through it. So like I was saying, it's a 30 gram weight, and it's on the X-Safe system, so it's easy to change. So you pull it off, and there's you pull this top connector off, which is hard with cold hands, and in there's a little hook, and that's where you hook your on and off. Same with the feeders of a similar make, and you hook them on and off, and you know, it just enables you to have loads set up on your tray when you're fishing a match, and you can just be straight onto it and you're away. That's just on that hook link that I told you about. I think it's, let me just double check for you, I think it's an MT6. It's the MT6 pellet carp ones from Mava. These are 18s actually, to 4.1 pound line, and they're great. I love them. They're absolutely brilliant. Really strong hooks and really reliable. So I've put a little extra shot, as you may be able to see there, above, and that's just a little added security on the cap, so if it does come open, you know, it just keeps everything tight and in line. And I've got that hook, and I've just put a couple of maggots on, just one red, one white, and we're just gonna, it's just like an exploring kind of rod. So we've seen those fish moving out there, so we're just gonna have a little cast over there. So I am clipped up for in front of me, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay that rod just to the side of me there, just tighten it up, and I'm just going to have a see if there's just anything swimming around that, you know, that fancies a go. So like I say, we've cast that rod out that way, and you know, there's a few fish knocking about out there. We're just going to see if we can sneak one, just as a bonus fish. That's what it's all about, just fishing with you know, your ledger rods. You can just plug about and just see if anything's hanging about. Just can give you another option, especially if you're fishing pellet in the summer. Pellet waggler in front of you. Always have a bomb rod set up, which obviously we'll show you in summer when it gets better weather and the feeding on top. You'll always have a pellet bomb rod set up when you've got a pellet waggler situation. If you're fishing your pellet waggler on top, as soon as you know, the wind could change, the weather, the sun, and they could go down in the water, you've got your bomb ready for all those pellets that they've missed, and it's, you know, and that's when you can pick up some real quality fish. So, you know, it's an exploring rod, so we've give it, you know, a couple of 3 or 4 minutes out that side now. So even though we've seen those fish topping, there's not much action out there, to be honest. So what I'm going to do with it is I'm just going to give it a reel in. I'm just going to cast it to a similar kind of distance to where I'm fishing my feeder, and just see. I've had a little knock on it because we've lost a thing on it. I did see a little knock on it. So what I'm going to do is just put another maggot back on there, another red, and we'll give it a flick out towards the line that we're fishing out in front of us, just as an added kind of, see if there's anything knocking about on maggots. See, we've caught, you know, I've probably got 4 fish in net now. You know, not been fishing too long, and to be honest, in this time of year, it's, you know, on all F1s, it's, you know, it's good fishing really. So we're just casting it out to a similar area where we were fishing before, and we'll just see if there's anything knocking about out there, you know, because, you know, we've fed them pellets, don't know if they're feeding on maggot or not, so we'll have a go and see if they are. I've got my brother fishing with me on the peg to the left of me, and he's into a fish now, and I think he's fishing the maggot feeder, so they're obviously taking maggots, so it's worth having a backup contingency. I've obviously brought red and white maggots, so it's always a good thing to, you know, cover your bases. To be honest, I wouldn't really come fishing this time of year without maggots. There may be a part later on in the day for that. I picked the pole up. I've also got some blended corn and some normal corn. Don't know if I'll use it, but again, it's a bait I always have in the winter is corn. There's a great margin down to my right hand side here, so that may be a place that I put the pole up and just, you know, fish a few meters or even a few meters in front of me into the deeper water, and just see if there's, you know, anything about it like that. So don't waste too much time on your bomb. If you're not getting any knocks, then, you know, just put it away and get your feeder rod back out. You don't want to waste. But there you go, that's an absolute clonking bite on the bomb there. So that just proved my theory right, that, you know, it's always a good thing to have an explore, because that's gone shooting off as that. So, you know, it's a brilliant result for camera there, that, you know, that trying a different line is obviously a good idea. And, you know, it's swimming the whole way towards me as that. It's swum right to the underneath of the rod tip. It's right under the rod tip now, so, you know, it feels actually like a not a too bad fish, you know, considering the ones we've had you know, the 2 to 3 pound mark. I don't know how big this one is. That's roughly the same size. Like I say, we have got the bomb on, so it does weigh slightly more. So once we get his head up and we'll get him in the net, there we go. Just proves that, you know, not forcing yourself into one method all the time. You know, be willing to, you know, try different methods, because like you can see, you know, we flicked that out, and you know, it's a bonus fish. If you're not catching anything, don't just sit there for hours and not catch anything. Keep yourself active, keep yourself thinking. You know, I've seen a few fish moving out there. I'm fishing pellet. I've caught 3 or 4 on pellet already to start with. You know, that's great. I thought to myself, well, I'm thinking about what other people are doing. Next door peg to me is fishing with maggots. Should I fish with maggots? Well, I've got my bomb rod set up. Is it worth a chuck? Yeah, it's worth a chuck. And you know, within 3 minutes, you know, it's rattling off the rest, and that's what it's about. So what I'll say to you is, well, we're going to carry on fishing and save a bit of footage, and we'll catch up with you probably in a couple of hours time, and we'll see. Hopefully we'll have more in the net, and you know, we'll able to show you those. So from me, tight lines, and we'll see you later on. Right, so we've had a great day considering it's been, it's quite cold, and we are in winter and it's 8 degrees. We've been alternating them two lines between the pellet feeder and the bomb with just maggots on, and we've cleaned up today, so that's done really well. So we've had close to 60 pound in there. So if you just want a quick look, you can obviously see it's a good method even in this time of year. We've only been fishing it a few hours, and once we got on feeding on maggot and on pellet feeder, it were crazy. So obviously two great methods for you to try in winter and in summer. As always, thanks for your support and keep watching videos. Obviously we've got a better camera now, and sound quality is better and everything, so keep watching. We'll keep putting videos up as often as we can, and let's get these back. We can lift it. Important to keep them in a soft sling like this one is. Just gently release the sling, and there we go. Every single one swimming away. That's exactly what we want. So follow us on angling_info on Instagram, or Ben Cook on Facebook, and have a look at some other videos we've got. We're trying to get as many different methods as we can, and thanks again to Oaks Lakes and to Tom and Chris for letting us fish the beach complex, which obviously again is a match pond, but these lakes here are stocked full of fish and it's fantastic fishing. So that's from me, Tech Lines.